potentially explosive new chapter in the Jeffrey Epstein saga is unfolding, with volumes of previously unseen evidence reportedly set to become public. The material comes from a long-running legal battle involving Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell. For years, documents from Giuffre's 2015 defamation lawsuit against Maxwell remained under seal. Now, Manhattan federal court judge Loretta Preska has ordered the release of previously subpoenaed material from that case. And the ruling could open the door to a significant new tranche of records connected to Epstein and Maxwell. The decision comes under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, legislation passed by Congress and signed into law by President Donald Trump in November 2025. Preska's ruling directly addressed Maxwell's objections to the government's request to release the sealed material. The judge said Maxwell had lodged what she described as a veritable kitchen sink of objections, but Preska rejected those arguments. The judge concluded that Maxwell's objections were without merit and said remaining materials in the government's possession should become part of the public record, subject to redactions designed to protect victims. That last point is important. The unsealing does not mean every document will necessarily appear completely unredacted. Material identifying or exposing victims can still be withheld or redacted under the law, but the ruling nevertheless represents a major development in a legal fight that has been going on for years. The documents originated in a defamation lawsuit filed by Giuffre against Maxwell in 2015. Giuffre sued Maxwell after Maxwell accused her of helping Epstein recruit, groom, and sexually traffic her when she was a teenager. The case ultimately never reached trial. Giuffre and Maxwell settled in 2017 for an undisclosed amount, but the legal battle over the records continued. The Miami Herald spent years fighting to get the documents released, arguing that the public had a right to access judicial records. One of the journalists who pursued the records most aggressively was Julie K. Brown, the Miami Herald investigative reporter whose work helped expose Epstein's trafficking operation nationally. Brown celebrated the latest development in a Substack post on Tuesday, August 18. She said she had been told the discovery materials contained damaging evidence involving Epstein, Maxwell, and other men. Brown also argued that the records should never have been broadly sealed in the first place. According to Brown's account, the documents were subjected to a blanket sealing order because they contained what was described as sensitive and private information, but she argued that this was not the proper legal process. Her position was that individual documents should have been examined separately, with parties seeking secrecy required to provide a legal justification for each sealing request. The latest ruling, therefore, potentially represents the culmination of a decade-long battle over access to the records, and the language used by the judge makes clear that Maxwell's efforts to keep the material sealed have now suffered a major setback. The question, of course, is what is actually inside the documents. There have been years of speculation about what remains hidden in the Epstein records, but it is important to distinguish between allegations, claims made by journalists or parties in litigation, and evidence that has actually been established. The existence of newly unsealed documents does not automatically mean every allegation contained inside them is true. The records may contain testimony, correspondence, depositions, legal exhibits, or other discovery material. The eventual release of the documents will likely be scrutinized line by line. The case itself has an extraordinary history. Maxwell was arrested in 2019, years after the lawsuit was filed. She was later convicted in 2021 on 5 of 6 sex trafficking-related charges. In 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Epstein himself died in jail in 2019 before he could face trial on federal sex trafficking charges. His death was officially ruled a suicide. Giuffre remained one of the most prominent women to publicly accuse Epstein and Maxwell. She died by suicide in April 2025, months before the release of her memoir, Nobody's Girl. Her death added another tragic chapter to a story that has continued to generate intense public interest. And now, the legal records from the case that helped bring many of these allegations into public view could become available on a much larger scale. The Miami Herald's years-long effort to open the records is particularly significant because Brown's reporting played a major role in bringing Epstein's activities back into the national spotlight. The new ruling also comes as scrutiny of the Epstein files remains intense. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was specifically designed to increase public access to government-held records relating to the case, while still allowing legally authorized protections for victims and sensitive information. Preska's ruling indicates that the law has now become a key factor in determining what material can remain sealed. For Maxwell, the decision represents another legal defeat. For the public, it could mean access to records that have remained hidden for years. But what those records ultimately reveal remains the crucial question.